What is up, Pitt fans? Welcome to another edition of the PG Pitt Show brought to you by FanDuel. My name is Stephen Thompson. That's Abby Schnable. We both cover Pitt athletics for the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. Abby, some pretty serious news breaking over the weekend, Monday night into Tuesday morning that we have to talk about. It's a story that you've been following for a little bit now, and finally some stuff seeing the light of day. But some pretty serious allegations made by former players against Pitt women's basketball coach Tory Verdi. Why don't you break down for us what you know about the case as it stands right now, the lawsuit as it stands right now, and what some of these allegations against Verdi are?
Yeah. So first of all, it's 6 different athletes that are, suing both Verdi and the university for essentially misconduct, whether it's, psychological, emotional abuse from Verdi's end or essentially negligence / the university just not sticking to its actual rules and reporting various things. The 6 athletes are Favor Iodell, Raven Boswell, Michaela Elmore, Brooklyn Miles, Isabel Perkins, and actually local Whitfield player Jasmine Timerson. And it's a variety of players there. So it's players that were recruited from freshmen and transfer portal. And again, there's 2 parts to it, but the scarier one, I guess, is all the mistreatment that they are alleging that Verdi did, whether it is, just making inappropriate comments, whether it was racially, sexually, or other just, demeaning things. And then just the fact that, some of these players went to the university and high up in the university, like senior women's administrator Jen Toscano and even former AD Heather Like, with seemingly no follow through in the complaints being treated at all. When, some of this stuff happened in Verdi's 2nd year and we're in Verdi's 3rd year. And this is just kind of really coming through, like Stephen alluded to. It's kind of been on my radar for a little bit, but I'd never gotten true concrete stuff. And so seeing all of this, mistreatment, retaliation, negligence it's interesting to see 6 different players come through with a lot of the same things.
Yeah, I think you hit on the important part there, which is the allegations are certainly serious, and that is kind of the main thrust. That's what's going to kind of catch everyone's eye. I think in this when this news comes out, or when after it came out. But the response from the university, I think, is something that's the university, the athletics department. That's what's kind of key here. I think very often you can see coaches who are I want to word this the right way, but plenty of coaches coach in such a manner that does rub players the wrong way, that does, like, this is not an uncommon story. I think especially in women's basketball, and women's sports kind of in general, like, you can tend to see these types of stories emerge quite a bit. But the response from the university, I think, is really key here. And the bigger part of of this lawsuit, of this complaint, in my mind, is the parts of how the university responded, right, and how they responded to multiple requests, I guess, for an investigation or an inquiry into the women's basketball program from players, because I think it's one thing to, like I said, it's not uncommon to have a coach who maybe crosses the line. But if you are a player, you are counting on the university to kind of back you up, if you bring something this serious to them. So, the university has given Abby a statement, given a few different outlets a statement.
So the university's formal stance is that they are, quote, aware of these lawsuits and their allegations, which are without merit and will be vigorously defended. So when you really look at it, there wasn't one complaint. It was many complaints over multiple seasons from multiple sources. According to the lawsuit, it was, Perkins, Brooklyn Miles communicating with Jen Toscano, former player Gabby Hutcherson having I believe it said 2-hour-long meeting with Toscano and Heather Like, an assistant coach, exit interviews, parents, and just a lot. And when you add in the fact that Jen Toscano travels with the team a lot of the time, you would think that there is a lot of evidence there if so many people are coming through saying this? And then it's just the fact that according to the players, there was no investigation, there was no follow through, which is, like you said, okay, fine, you hired a person that maybe is mistreating their players, but it's your due diligence at that point to follow through and figure out what really is going on. And from the lawsuit and from what I know, a lot of the players felt just completely, brushed off. There were no interim protections, no real monitoring of Verdi, no discipline for his actions when he was, according to the players, actively, retaliating against them for even speaking up about it. And it's just, it's interesting to see, because with the fact that the university is so, these don't have any merit, but you have 6 players and other people named in the lawsuit having said that we did this. It's just like, it's a little bit of he said, she said for right now. But if this is a thing that goes to trial, those interview or those meetings, those emails, any paper trail is something that is pulled into, conversation. And I think it is worth mentioning that this was all kind of happening around a weird time, in which it was at the end of the 2024 season, in which all of this kind of really started amping up. And then later that fall, Heather Lyke was let go from her position, and we have Alan Green in the mix. And so did it get lost in the shuffle? And if it did, how do you lose something like that in the shuffle?
Yeah, there's definitely an interesting kind of timing element to this all. And of course, there's a lot that has to play out. These are right now just allegations against Verdi, against the university, and so you have to let the legal process work out a little bit. But yeah, it's certainly serious. It is certainly important news. It kind of comes in the backdrop of the team not playing very well. Since Verdi has been the head coach, they have really struggled. They have not kind of been able to build a program consistently. A lot of turnover on the roster, things of that nature. So just that's kind of all kind of lingering in the background as well, is that this team continues to lose, and they lose big. And all the while you have at least allegations and some pretty specific instances in the lawsuit that former players point to as indication of poor culture. So it's all kind of going to be put under the microscope during the legal process. And it is, you see these things happen at other schools, and you can just kind of imagine how messy it is. Like these are 2 groups of people who decided to trust each other, right? When you commit to a college, commit to a university to play Division I athletics there, everyone is kind of putting their future in each other's hands, right? Like it's not just, the players who are trusting Verdi to develop them and put them in the right positions to be successful, create a supportive environment for them. But it's also, Verdi and the university are counting on these players to perform as well. And so when that trust can erode, I think things can get pretty messy. It seems like, regardless of if, these allegations are proven to be true, there was clearly a level of trust that deteriorated between the 2 groups for whatever reasons, and those will come to light. But obviously very serious stuff. And it is just always, it's trying to find the right word again. Want to be very careful with all of this, but when it kind of hits in your own backyard, it becomes very real for you in a different way than if it's kind of happening somewhere else and you're just kind of reading it through kind of secondhand sources and everything like that.
And this is, a broader trend that we're seeing in specifically women's basketball. I mean, just in 2025 and 2026, you've had cases from Western Oregon, Wisconsin, and I want to say they're D2, but Heidelberg University. And even going back further than that, like some more high profile cases at Florida in 2021 or Purdue, Fort Wayne that same year, Texas Tech in 2020. And I think the thing that is notable to me about looking at all of these cases is 2 of them are still under litigation in Wisconsin and East Oregon, West Oregon, whichever one it is. My apologies there. Western Oregon. And the others all ended in essentially coaches resigning and no really, follow through for the players from what I've gathered in my research. And so it'll be interesting to see how this plays out, just because there is precedent that it doesn't tend to actually, result in anything other than the coach getting, resigning or whatever it may be. But, like you said, very serious stuff, and a long pathway to go. I mean, the Wisconsin stuff specifically was, filed in August of 2025. And if they go to trial, it likely won't be until 2027. So it's a long, arduous process, but it's something that we will continue to keep our eye on and continue to report to try and get as many details as possible. Because it is, like you said, it hits in our backyard, and it is a very serious story.
Yep, serious and kind of widespread. It involves a lot of people, and some people high ranking currently still in Pitt's athletic department as well. So Abby's done some great reporting on that so far, and she will continue to do more as the story progresses. But Abby, shifting gears a little bit to the men's side of the basketball program, some bad news shared by Jeff Capel on Monday morning. He doesn't know quite yet, but he said there is a possibility that Brandin Cummings, who is out for tonight's game against number 4 Duke, has missed the last 2 games as well. He's dealing with a nagging ankle injury that has kept him out of a few games this season, but there's a possibility, according to Jeff Capel, that he is out for the remainder of the season. Things already not going well for Pitt, already a super thin roster, and already a super thin rotation. Gets even thinner now that you lose your leading scorer. I don't know if you can say Pitt has necessarily a number 1 option offensively, but Brandin Cummings is as close as it comes. He's been their most effective individual scorer so far this season.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where when you look at where we're at in the season, we're in February. We only have a handful. I want to say it's 7 more home games, and a very slim possibility of making the ACC tournament. It's a loss, of course, but does it? I mean, it matters too, but does it really in the grand scheme of things, especially with the way the season is going? And they've pulled out games, without him in the non-conference season, and we've seen them play without him. The good thing in my mind is that you're going to be able to get more playing time for some of these younger guys who don't need to develop. Like, I'm sure you'll see a bit more Makari Moore, maybe not though, considering he did play pretty sparingly the other day. But it opens up opportunities. It's a huge loss for a team that is already struggling. However, like we've said, it's almost in the point of the season where you really want to start thinking about, how do we develop these guys? How do we make sure we keep these guys? And more playing time for some of those younger guards is not a bad thing at this point.
Right. The immediate impact of losing Brandin Cummings is, I'm not going to say super, not really massive. According to our friends at FanDuel, they are 17.5 point underdogs tonight against Duke. And God bless Brandin Cummings. I think he's a good player, but I don't know if he's going to help them make up that difference. Duke is just kind of such an overwhelming matchup, I think, for this team, even at its very best. Even if Deshaun Jackson was there and in the fold. Deshaun Jackson, Papa Conte, Brandin Cummings, I don't even know if those 3 together would really help Pitt in this game. Duke is just kind of that good. They're going to make a lot of good teams look pretty silly this year, and they already have. But it is another example of just kind of the hits keep coming for this program, and you just really cannot. You just really. I think it just illustrates how kind of. I hate to use the word miserable, but it has been kind of a slog for everyone. Like we talked about on Saturday after the loss to SMU. It's very clear how much this season is kind of weighing on people, in and around the program. So it is just another example of that. It's just the hits keep coming, right? And this team continues to get thinner. I think this is another thing that could kind of limit how much better they can get over the remainder of the year, right? It's one thing to give, Makari Moore and Amari Witherspoon some more run in games, but there are also practices that Pitt really can't do very much in now because of their numbers, right? I don't even know at this point if they have 10 guys to just run, 5-on-5 with. I'm pretty sure they will have to pull KJ Marshall and Jamarius Burton, some of their form, maybe even Gilbert Brown, off of the coaching staff to participate in 5-on-5 practices if they want to do anything like that. And you're already at a point in the year where, you have guys that are run down enough from the course of a long season that you're not trying to overextend them in practice, but this is also a team that needs every bit of basketball that it can get. So yeah, I mean, look, are they going to lose any more games without Cummings in the lineup than they would have otherwise? Maybe not. Maybe this limits. They've still got a game against Syracuse, a game against Notre Dame that theoretically those are winnable, but Pitt wasn't winning those games with Cummings in the lineup. So it's hard to see things getting worse, but I think the behind the scenes effect is going to be a lot more devastating for this team.
I think it definitely makes it a little bit harder for them to get wins, which, like, as I mentioned in the podcast on Saturday, that, they're very close to having the worst season under Capel. If they don't win a single game the rest of the way through, that mark will be hit, COVID year or not. And without Brandin Cummings, who has been, a big factor in some of those ACC or in those 2 ACC wins, that makes it difficult, or even more so. I also did see a rumor that, like, there's so many injuries or a tweet, there's so many injuries under Jeff Capel, what is he doing to these guys? And I want to make it clear that all of these were pre-existing injuries, like Papa Conte's knee, Brandin Cummings' ankle, and Deshaun Jackson's heart problems. Those were not further hurt by Jeff Capel's coaching or what's going on in the practice gym.
Right. And if anything, like, I think this team has been forced to practice less because of the injuries. I don't think it's like, I mean, my impression is that it's a chicken and egg thing, but yeah. I don't think, I think the injuries kind of predate what they're able to do or what they're able to do in practice is predicated on the injuries that they have, I guess I should say, not the other way around. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, if it was more of a coaching thing, you'd probably still be seeing Brandin Cummings playing. Jeff Capel has let Brandin Cummings sit when needed, beginning of the season, now. And then same with Papa Conte before he ended the season. And I just don't want that to become the narrative if Brandin Cummings is out for the season, because so many of these things, especially his, when you have an ankle injury, it's so easy to retweak those no matter what you do, especially when you're playing at the level that he is. And yeah, it's for sure a loss. But I don't think there's a bigger story beyond the fact that Brandin Cummings has an ankle injury.
Yes. And I think when it is certainly a loss. Pitt is a worse team without Brandin Cummings. My point was, I don't know if it'll materially change how the season ends. Right. Like you said, we are flying pretty close to setting some low watermarks for the Jeff Capel era at Pitt. But yeah, there are just a lot of issues that no one guy is going to really solve, especially with 7 games left. So yeah, really, really not encouraging. It's brutal for Brandin too. Like, he had been playing pretty well, like I said, been probably Pitt's most consistent offensive threat, even if that wasn't very consistent to begin with. So definitely a loss for Pitt, and definitely makes the task that much harder tonight against the best team in the ACC, one of the best teams in the country. It's probably always going to be a long night, but going to be even longer with someone who can put the ball in the basket so effectively not in the lineup.
And then it doesn't help that you've got North Carolina on Saturday too, because you've got 2 big games that, would be a miracle to get an upset over, but those are also games that you would like to see, like, them try and stay in. And that simply just becomes harder, especially with the pace both of those teams play, and Pitt just having fewer bodies. It's been an issue for even like medium paced teams that Pitt has played against. So, I think what I'm looking for in these next 2 games is just to see how the individuals step up. I'm not anticipating a win this week. However, I would like to see them stay competitive through all 40 minutes, because, like we said, against the SMU game, it kind of just felt like they fell back on their heels for especially that latter half. And so I think I'd like to see them not do that, even though they're even more thin and truly don't have a lot to play for right now.
Yeah, and I would give this team credit, like we said on Saturday, like, it did seem like Pitt got a little bit deflated in the second half, but that is not something that you can say about them, throughout the season, or very often about them this season. Like, I think they have hung in there and fought about as hard as they can. This just becomes, an even kind of more monumental task for a team that is already pretty undermanned. But Panthers and Blue Devils tonight, 9 p.m. at the Peterson Event Center. I'll be there. Abby will have some writing tomorrow off of it as well. We're going to have you covered from everything you need to know from the Peterson Event Center tonight. So make sure that you like this video, subscribe to PG Pitt on YouTube, all of our written work at post-gazette.com so you don't miss a thing. Thank you all for tuning into this video, and we will see you next time.
Thank you for checking out this content from Post-Gazette Sports. If you watch this video on YouTube, please like the video and subscribe to our channel. For all of the sports coverage the Post-Gazette has to offer, visit post-gazette.com.